Hey everybody, Barry at CTech-review. Today I want to talk about the recreational industry, specifically referring to the snowmobiles and the dirt bike industry. This has been a tumultuous last 12 months for two big players in the recreational market. If you're new to this channel or you're new to this topic, I'll just give you a brief rundown of what's going on. So KTM, which is a premier dirt bike motorcycle manufacturer out of Austria in Europe, they have been killing it for a long time now, bringing premium dirt bikes, motorcycles, and a lot of other products to the marketplace. I've owned several. Most of our riding crews are in either KTM, Husqvarnas, or Gases. They've been struggling financially about 2 years post-COVID, kind of, and it's continually just been going down and down and down. In the last few days, there's been more information kind of being shared about what's happening with KTM, but in a nutshell, they're trying to figure out how to survive. They're gonna be going through some sort of restructuring, bankruptcy, whatever the proper terms are in Europe, but restructuring is critical for them to survive, because if they don't, company's gonna get sold for pennies on the dollar. And there's a really great article here by Mobility Outlook that was actually just posted today, a few hours back. But basically they kind of just talk in a nutshell what's happening. Basically what they're doing is they're gonna be offering a 30% cash quota to the creditors for their debts, and hope to convince investors that this is the right plan and move forward. Why this is a big deal is if you have been watching racing or any of the big events for Supercross and off-road trials, dude, KTM's been a big player. And everyone's figuring out, like, what happens? Are they gonna survive? Are they not? Personally, I hope they survive, because we don't need to see these industries getting smaller, because part of what's been a challenge for people to get into dirt biking or snowmobiling is lack of competition. Drives the prices up, makes it even tougher for people to enjoy these awesome recreational vehicles we have throughout the country, and in Europe and in other countries. And so from that standpoint, I hope they survive. Plus, I think their bikes are awesome. There's a lot of great things they've done. I love how they've designed their bikes where they have redundant features where a bolt will maybe have a standard bolt head and a hex head in the middle. So it's things like that for serviceability that's really cool. Plus, they're just really cool bikes. They've been bringing a ton of innovation. Hydraulic, they were the first manufacturer in dirt bikes, I believe, with a hydraulic clutch system. Now some others are bringing it as well. So this is something, I'll include the link down below if you want to kind of deep dive on this more. But the other big topic that still everyone's trying to understand is the situation with Arctic Cat. Let me just share with you guys the letter that was posted here a few days ago. Dear valued dealers, today we informed the employees of Thief River Falls that we indefinitely suspend manufacturing operations in a facility by May 22nd. As previously stated, this action is tough, but necessary to weather the current downturn across the power sports industry. As before, we remain open for business or sales organization, customer serve, blah, blah, blah. What's interesting is a few takeaways. I'll include the link of this down below. Textron continues to explore strategic alternatives regarding the future of the power sports business. Developments necessitate a change in the plan for Thief River Falls facility. We'll notify everyone as soon as possible. So Textron is the ownership of Arctic Cat. They're in a lot of other industries, aerospace, defense, and obviously power sports. At points in the industry, they also own Polaris. Now you could say, well, Arctic Cat will for sure get bought out. I hope so too, because I have an Arctic Cat, and once again, the exact same topic of in the dirt bike world. It's even a bigger situation in the snowmobile world, because in the dirt bike world or motorcycle world, you've got dozens of competitors. In the snowmobile world, as of today in 2025, you had 3 players in the world. You had Arctic Cat, Skidoo, and Polaris. Last year, we had Yamaha. Yamaha already pulled out of the game. If we go back about 50 years ago, this industry had over 50 different OEMs making snowmobiles. 50 plus is down to 4 today, and really down to 3, potentially down to 2. So what's sad about this is for people that are in the power sports industry, the part that's been really tough is weather has not been great. It's been challenging winters. The last two specifically has made people kind of question, do I really want to buy a $20,000 snowmobile? Do I need it, number one? And the weather's kind of suck. Do I want to invest this money? Fortunately, this year's been a great winter, specifically in Michigan. A lot of records have been broken for snowfall, which has had a big help on the power sports industry for selling more snowmobiles. But Arctic Cat, to me, I used to never be an Arctic Cat guy, in full fairness. I was Ski-Doo, Polaris. I just kind of recently started liking Arctic Cat in the last few years. They were like a big player. That would be like seeing Harley Davidson fail in the motorcycle world. And Arctic Cat, I think, is a lot like that. There's a lot of followers, a lot of recognition over the years. I still think they're a great snowmobile. And what's sad is their new chassis that just came out, the new Catalyst, I think it looks awesome. I think it's the best looking snowmobile on snow. And it's a really cool snowmobile to ride. And it very much mimics, if you're a dirt biker, motorcycle guy, the ergos are very similar to that. What's interesting is there's a lot of speculation on this topic out there. No one knows the full answers yet, but I want to share with you guys my opinion. So if we go back to November 13th of 2024, this was a letter from the Vice President, Philip Jahant, I think that's how you say his name, VP and General Manager of Power Sports. They kind of talk about what's happening and how they are making changes to their workforce. Just for clarity, Arctic Cat's not the only snowmobile manufacturer struggling right now. Ski-Doo is struggling financially right now. They are going to the Canadian government asking for help, and they've seen a reduction in sales. Polaris, 82% year-over-year drop. If you're by me, dealerships are offering 0% financing for several plus years, price reductions on these things. The snowmobile market in the last 24 months, I'm not joking, has dropped 50% of sales price. You've seen prices drop massively. The only thing that I've seen that's holding premium dollar are the really exclusive models. As an example, maybe a 2025 MXZ Ski-Doo Competition R Turbo, or maybe a VR1 Dynamics Turbo for a Polaris, or a 9R XCR. These sleds that are one model year old, specific options, hardly many of them out there. They haven't been discounted much. They're still bringing MSRP in most cases. But your average snowmobile has seen massive, massive price reductions. When we look at this letter here, a lot of people have been saying, well, this letter that Textron just sent out is the same as the letter they sent out in November. It's actually not, because if we look at this letter in November, it says, in addition to pausing production at Thief River Falls facility for the 25 model year lineup, we expect production to resume Q1 of 2025. Well, unfortunately, it did not happen. And in fact, they're indefinitely ceasing manufacturing by May 22nd. So I know people are trying to be optimistic, and I'm trying to be optimistic as well. And I've even looked at some great articles by Snowgoer magazine. These guys are really trying to keep people optimistic and positive about this. And they talk about putting the Arctic Cat layoffs, production stop into context. Definitely check these articles out, read them for yourself. But yes, are they open for business? Yes, can you get service parts? Yes, can you go to a dealership and get certain things? But you know what you can't do, because I just tried before I made this video? I tried calling 4 different dealerships and to see, can I order a 2026 Catalyst? You cannot. So let's think about this. If you're in the snowmobile world and you can't, and 2026 models are rolling out right now, and you can't order a 2026 Arctic Cat Catalyst, and there's hardly any of the 2025 Catalysts available, what's gonna drive revenue for Arctic Cat for the next 24 months if they're not building 2026s and they have hardly any 2025s left? Sadly, the picture doesn't look great. Now, fast forward from this article from Snowgoer, and we come 4 months later, and they just did an article and they say, you know, don't write off Arctic Cat. I'm not writing off Arctic Cat, and I want some signs of optimism. They kind of talk about some things. Are they overly optimistic? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, great article. Read it over. But I don't really see anything in this that says Arctic Cat's snowmobile division will survive, sadly. I want it, because if this industry goes down to just Ski-Doo and Polaris, I promise you prices won't be coming down. It'll just make the sport that much harder for people to get into. We need more competition and more manufacturers in this space. The problem is, who wants to jump into a space that's lost 50% of the sales revenue or volume over the last 20 years? It's a shrinking sport because the sport's gotten so expensive. The winners are not getting better, sadly. We did have a record book year this year, and I hope that rubs off on people to make them want to stay into the sport. But sadly, it's been a tough 10 years. You know, when you used to be able to get into a nice snowmobile for $5,000 to $10,000, that was a lot easier than now, $20,000 for those premium sleds, or $22,000 or $24,000. So, not trying to be negative, guys. I'm just looking at the realistic situation. Two big giants in the recreational industry right now, KTM and Arctic Cat, are struggling right now. And I don't know what the answer is. American investors don't seem to be overly interested in either one of these brands. I keep thinking a company like CF Moto that seems aggressive and they're trying to grow. They've been sponsoring Supercross or Snowcross for the past few years. They have been making some big waves in the ATV and side-by-side market. Local dealer by me sells Polaris and Can-Am side-by-sides, as well as CF Moto side-by-sides. They don't really care what they sell. They just want to sell units. And they are absolutely impressed with the quality they've seen of the CF Moto four-wheelers and side-by-sides. I don't know. If CF Moto could buy out Arctic Cat, invest in them, bring the brand back, and start bringing lower-cost snowmobile alternatives to grow the sport, dude, I'm all about that. I want to see the sport get better. Everybody wants to see trails getting better, grooming getting better, more hotels, restaurants, tourism up north. It's an awesome sport, and if you haven't had the chance to do it, I highly recommend taking a chance to do it. Go to some place in northern Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Canada. Go rent a snowmobile, take your family, enjoy it. It's a blast. It is one of the funnest hobbies I've had. It's also the least practical recreational hobby you can have because it's extremely expensive and you got to drive a long ways to use it, and it's kind of costly, sadly. Anyhow, guys, I'll be curious. Leave your comments down below. What do you think happens with KTM? Do they get restructured? They survive, get lean, get mean, and are back in the game? Do you think Arctic Cat survives, the snowmobile division specifically? Or do they restructure? Does someone buy them out? I'm not really sure. I'm just curious to get your guys' opinions. Hey, if you enjoy this content, I'd like to do more in the snowmobile industry and recreational industry. Leave your comments down below. Thanks for watching.